Hi, I'm Traveling John, and I'm going to travel and sketch. Join me on the adventure. The bold lettered cities you see listed on this map are the ones we visited during our adventure in Europe. This is part 2 video concerning our stay in Leiden, Netherlands. Welcome. We spent 2 days in Leiden, and we spent most of our time in the mornings and the afternoon in that city. But during the day, we would travel back to Amsterdam, and again, I mentioned it was only about a half an hour trip by rail there, and then a half an hour coming back. The trains were wonderful, and there was even some of the cars or coaches had quiet areas where you could just relax and enjoy the ride without any noise or anything that might distract you from the beautiful views. And then one of the interesting things that we found out about Leiden that I didn't realize before we were there is that is a very important area that the Pilgrims stayed in for about a decade before they came to the United States. And we visited a historic church where they worshiped, and John Robinson was the pastor of the Pilgrim Fathers. Before they left on the Mayflower, he became one of the early leaders of the English separatists and is regarded as one of the founders of the Congregational Church. We visited this beautiful church that had a profound impact on the beginning of the United States. Now, as you've seen me do before in some of the other sketches that I've done, I start out with the black and white sketch in the first video, and then I apply color in the second video. This is a second video on Leiden. This is the black and white sketch I did in the last video. And I go through this process in sort of a unique way because I scan this, reduce it down, place it on the overhead transparency, and put it behind some watercolor paper on a light table. And then I do the coloring with watercolor. Then when the watercolor is dry, I scan that and put both the ink line that I have scanned and also the watercolor together and on a software program where I manipulate the color behind the ink line sketch to get the effects that I want as a finished product. Now, before I go into that process, I'd like to share once again some of the pictures that I took, and again the late afternoon and early mornings in Leiden. And so enjoy those photographs, and then we'll go into the color process for the ink line sketch. This is the computer screen, and the software program I'm using is Photoshop, and this is the ink line illustration I did on canvas. I've scanned it and made it into a pixel image, minute little black pixels, but no white pixels. So behind that, and another layer way down here, is the watercolor that I'm going to be working with. All these layers are all the things I'm going to be doing as you watch me go through this process. We're going to start off with the white edge that's around that windmill, that beautiful curved roof on the windmill. And so we're going to choose that layer, and these are all the paths, and I'm going to start off with that part of the windmill and make a selection of that. That's going to be a little feathered edge, about 3 pixels, and that's because I want a little bit of soft edge to this. I don't want a real hard line edge. It's not going to make a great deal of difference, but first of all, I want to put the color in there, and you might think it would be white, but no, because it's a sunset and we have the sun going down, that white is going to actually be a real light yellow. So I'm going to fill that layer with that color. There we go. On that. That's the first step. Now we're going to go down to the background building roofs. And what I'm speaking about is these buildings that are in the background. They're actually, as I mentioned earlier, this canal actually wraps around to the right after the bridge. So these buildings are on the other side of another canal. And I'm going to have to go to the path for that. Make a selection, again 3. And all these buildings have such beautiful orange roofs on them, so I'm going to put that color in there. Just sort of a putty orange. See how this works. Okay. I might brighten that up. Maybe I'm going to play in hue and saturation as you see me do before. Give it a little bit more saturation, a little lighter. Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that for now. Maybe I'll come back to it later. I have it on a layer. I have a path for it. So I can come back and tweak it in different directions if I decide later on it's not balanced quite right. So let's see what's next. The next thing is the windmill base roof, and that's this roof down here underneath the main structure of the windmill that turns according to the wind. And I'm going to color that in, and because it's underneath that huge upper portion of the windmill, we're going to make it darker. So windmill base roof, make selection, okay, and actually I'm going to choose a little bit brown in here. Make sure I'm in the right layer again. Yep, I am. Look at how it looks, a little dark there. Maybe I'll lighten it up just a little. Maybe I can just work with lightness on this and make it a little brighter. That's a little better. Okay. Let's go. Okay, so we got windmill roof. Now, next thing is those background building walls. And so I'm going to get a little color in that of my choosing. So let's make sure we have the right path. Okay. In this case, I'm going to take the viewing off of that. I don't want to show the selected edge anymore. So I'm taking that off. And in this case, let me see, what am I going to do? Go to Layers. And before I do that, I better choose the color I want to go for. I'm going to go for a light tan there, okay? Okay, again, Layer, Edit, Fill. Okay, that works, at least for now. Again, I can change the color. And just to show you what I mean, I can change the hue and saturation if I don't like it by just playing and manipulating with this hue. Make it go blue, purple, reddish color. That's close to what it is. Green. Oh my goodness, that'd be interesting. No, I'm gonna stick to where I had it for now, and that looks more realistic. So what's next? Background building. Oops, I must have, Did I put that on the wrong layer? I did. Okay, I put that on, I didn't go down the layer I should have. So I'm going to go back to Paths. I'm going to choose the background buildings, make selection like I did before, go back to Layers. See, what I did is I put it on the wrong layer. I didn't go down like I should have. So this is a windmill base roof, and I'm taking that color out of that layer that I shouldn't have put it in. Okay, so now I'm going down to the right layer, and that's where I'm going to put that in. Edit, Fill. So, you know, I made a mistake, but that's an easy correction. Now, I got the roof, I got the walls on that. Windmill base walls, okay, that's these here. And again, they're on the other side of the canal. So, we're gonna get the path for that. And that's the windmill base walls. Make selection and make sure I'm on the right layer. I am this time. Okay, in this case, I'm gonna go more in the yellows. Just to make it stand out more. Okay, let me think about this a second. Image, just hue and saturation. I'm going to lighten that up and give it a little more hue. So, you know, this tree that's towards the boat, I'm going to call it the windmill tree because it's near the staircase that goes up to the upper portion of the windmill. I'm going to be working with that. So I think I named the same windmill tree. Make selection of that path. And I'm going to fill that in with a forest green type color. This sort of like in there. Okay. And now I want to do something to give that a little bit of an effect. So I'm going to change these colors. This one I'm actually going to go up to a purple. okay? And in this other color, I'm gonna make that, I think, more of a bright green, okay? Switch those around. And you've seen me do this effect in others because I like it. It's a filter that is called Pixelate, and it's Pointilize. And I am going to adjust it to about the size I want. And you think, oh, this looks really strange. Okay, I did it. Deselect. Now let's get a little closer to it so you can see the effect I am giving it. I see I'm giving it a little bit of a purple tint just for the leaves, and that way it gives it a little bit more of the purple in here, a little bit more of the yellow in there, and it gives it a nice effect for the leaves on that. I would say small tree, actually, small tree just in front of the windmill. So this one here I'm going to call the boat tree, and I'm going to get the path on that. And in this case, I'm going to give that sort of a lighter green. And in that case, I'm just going, at this point, I'm just going to keep it that way. I don't think I'm going to, I may later on come back and use that filter, that Pixelate Pointilize filter, to give it that, that look that gives a little more character, but not right now. So, deselect. It has a lot of line work in it, so I haven't decided what I want to do on that for sure. So there are these buildings that I really wanted to keep as simple lines, and so I'm going to be playing with the coloration in there because right now it looks like the sky's just going right into it, and I want to block them off a little bit. So those side buildings, that's the layer I've chosen, and again I have the selected area I want to work with. So, okay, make selection, 3. Okay, so now in this case, what I'm going to do is I am going to go down to the layers that is watercolor, and I'm going to actually copy that area of the watercolor. So I've copied it. And now I'm going back up to the area, the layer, and I'm going to paste it right in. I'm going to actually paste it within this layer, that watercolor that's below. So edit, I'm going to special paste it right in place. And you won't see anything in terms of, but it is a separate layer. For example, I can hit a multiply on it, and you'll see that this is normal, that's multiply. You can see that the multiplication will make it pop out as a separate layer. So now, what I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to adjust the image in hue and saturation, and I think what I'm going to do is going to give it maybe about a little more hue, and then I'm going to give the saturation down. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. I'm going to darken it up a little bit. Okay. Now, after that, I'm going to give it a little bit different effect. I didn't want it to be green, so I'm going to have to throw this over into there. That's closer to what I want. Get a little lighter. There's all so much experimentation sometimes. And there, that's closer to what I want. I didn't want that much green in there. Okay, I may come back again later on that and do some more work on it. But the main objective was to get it separated from that sunset a little bit more. Okay, the background forest. And when I call background forest, I'm talking about these trees behind that wonderful old bridge. And let's work on that a little bit. I'm going to again go back to the paths, pick out that background forest, make a selection of it. In this case, in the layers, I'm going to just fill it in with a forest green that I think I can be happier to work with. Okay. Now, again, I think I'm going to play with the coloration here, but I'm going to do it a little different this time. I'm going to change this, I think, to more of an orange. Yeah, you know, sometimes it just takes a little experimentation to get the effect you want. So, here we go. So, on the background forest, we got this color here. We're going to pixelate, pointillize that. There is a very famous artist that used to play with this idea of using dots in their artwork, and his name was Seurat from France, and I really like his artwork. It was impressionistic. So filter, let's go down to here, and in this case it's further away. We're going to reduce down the spots a little bit. Okay, I don't know if I like what's going on, but we'll see. Okay, let's get up close and see what happened. Very interesting. Okay, you can see what's going on there. Let's see if I reduce the color just a little bit. Okay, right now it's normal. Let's take it down just a little bit. Let's see what happens. Yeah, just make it a little more subtle. Okay, I sort of like that. It sort of picks up some of the color of the purple here in the trees, and it gives it more of a distance look. Okay, we'll go back to fit on screen, and we'll leave that be. I've got a path here that is going to make this water a little darker with regards to the tree reflection in the water, because it's just too bright. So I got the path. I'm going to go down to where I want the layer, and I'm going to make first of all the path. Again, I have to make a selection of that. In this case, I'm not going to soften it. I'm going to leave anti-alias on and go back to layers. Okay, in this case, I'm going to manipulate this a little bit. First of all, I am going to color it in a little bit with this purple, and then we're going to see what goes on here. I'm going to take the airbrush tool, and I'm going to make the airbrush a size that I can work with comfortably. That's too small. That's good. Okay, now I'm going to spray, and I said airbrush, didn't I? I'm so used to using with airbrush that. Okay, so I'm going to use a brush tool in that layer, and it's set on normal, just to add color in there. Okay, that's way strong, but now I'm going to manipulate it and bring it way down to give it the desired effect. And again, as I work with this, I'm showing you what I'm doing, but I may go back and rework certain areas. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is working on the boats. And what I have again is a path for the boats. There we go. Make selection. And I'm going back to 3. And I'm going to be working on a layer for those, but I want to pick up the watercolor because I'm going to be adjusting the watercolor similar to the way I did on my last vlog where I colored in the boats in the Copenhagen scene. But in this case, I'm going to be working on the layer, not the actual watercolor. So, or a path that would be above it. So I'm going to make selection of that, edit, copy, and then I'm going to go to the path that says boats. I'm going to paste that right in that selection. And now I'm going to work on it. Now I want these rowboats to stand out or be a little bit stronger in color, but I don't want to necessarily tint them. So I'm using the magic wand or the lasso tool, and I'm going to pick those or choose those 2 boats in that layer, and then I'm going to adjust that image in hue and saturation. I'm going to put more saturation in it, and I'm going to darken them up. See, so I'm keeping the coloration of them, but I'm just making them stand out a little bit more. Could change the hue just a little bit darker or a little bit more red. And I'm going to start working on the color on the boats, and again on that same layer. So in this case, I'm going to get up close so you can see what I'm doing, and I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to again use a lasso tool, and it's going to be a little bit more rough than actually having paths already, but this is the same idea as creating a path, but it's just a little bit rougher, which is okay. And I'm going to adjust that. In this case, I want it to have the effect of being a little bit more red. So I'm going to give more of a red tint to that. I'm going to give it more saturation. Take it down a little bit, make it a little darker. Okay, that's the kind of effect I want on that. So deselect that part. And now I'm going to do the same kind of thing with that back portion of that wall on the boat, or that side of the boat. So make it more red, give it a little more saturation, a little more red. Okay, the purple, take that saturation down a little bit. In this case, I want it to be a little darker. Not getting quite where I want it. Okay, that works. I'm gonna choose the door area, and because there's a little roughness there, that's okay. I'm going to speed up my work on this in the video because it's going to take a generous amount of time to do all the coloring on these boats. There is a definite advantage for my working on that layer copied of the watercolor, because it's not going to affect the art or the colors behind it. It's only affecting the color on that particular layer or copy of the watercolor of the boats. So with the lasso tool, if it goes a little bit over into the background art, it's not going to affect it, because again, I'm only working on that particular layer. This boat I'm working on now, I want it to give more of a wood effect, so I'm changing the color to get that effect. Just working with tinting the color from the copy of the watercolor. I'm not filling it like I've done in other areas of this work. And in a moment, after I finish the last boat, I'm going to let you see the coloring work I did on that particular layer only by turning the layer off and letting you see what's behind the layer, which is the original watercolor. I like those red and white shutters that are on a lot of buildings around Leiden. I'm going to zoom out so you can see the full piece of artwork in a second. So this is what the full piece looks like with that layer on. Now I'm going to turn the layer off. And that's what it looks like. And now the layer's back on again. So that's it for now. I would really appreciate your opinion about what I'm doing with these vlogs, with the coloring work that you just saw, the ink line sketch work, and the adventures I go on. And if you would like to contact me, email me at travelnjohn@gmail.com. And then hopefully I'll be able to respond to you shortly afterwards. Now, our last morning in Leiden, we were hurrying off very early to catch the train, and we were on our way to Paris, France. And that's going to be the next vlog, which of course, I hope you'll join me in the process of doing that sketch in watercolor. And as we ran for the train, and I looked off to the side as we were going over a bridge, and I saw this wonderful windmill. And I, of course, took a photograph of it, and it inspired me with regards to the sketch I did this time, because once again, you noticed I concentrated, in this case, on a sunset for this windmill, the Rembrandt Bridge and Rembrandt Windmill, as some people call it. So this is a finished sketch as it's printed out. I mounted it on a piece of cardboard just to make it easier for me to show you right now. But it can be printed, of course, on archival paper if you would like to order it. And again, the best way to go to the store without complications is, at least from what I've heard from other people, is to go directly to my website first, which is TravelnSketch.com. And then there's some buttons there you can click to go to my store on Etsy. So please go there, and if you're interested in investing in the watercolor sketch, the original ink line sketch, or an ink line reproduction on archival paper, you can achieve or get any one of those. Now, one thing I'd like to encourage you all to do is subscribe to this channel, because that way you'll be notified right away when I do another vlog or adventure up on the internet. And there's no fee, there's no charge for any of that. So I'd just like to encourage you to do that. It also helps me in terms of getting the word out about this vlog. So thanks once more for joining me on this Travel and Sketch adventure, and join me in Paris for the next vlog.